Well, there's been a 20% increase in car crashes compared to pre-pandemic levels. And interestingly, work might have something to do with it. Travelers out with a study a week and a half ago showing an alarming number of American drivers distracted while behind the wheel. Apparently, 42% of respondents say they take work-related calls, texts, or emails while driving. And we asked the question on our Twitter poll. You can see the results here. We asked, do you feel pressure to do work behind the wheel? And interestingly, about 60% said no, 40% said yes. And we were talking about this among our Yahoo Finance team here on the 11 a.m. show. And people were a bit surprised that the yes wasn't a little bit higher here. So let me just put you on the spot, Akiko. When you're driving down the 10 in LA, going west, do you ever take work-related slacks from me or our 100%. Team?
Yeah, I mean, I am one of those drivers who thinks they can balance calls and driving. But what I'm curious about is that, to me, calls are just kind of the bare minimum here. What happens when you get a Slack or you get a text message, you're sitting in traffic and you're slowly moving, and yet you could be there for 40 minutes. To me, a 40-minute gap of not responding is not acceptable. So then I respond. I sort of just put one hand on the phone and try to, I'm admitting to it, but I am one of those that feels the need to reply.
I don't have a car in the city, but I'm just imagining Akiko in her big SUV in Los Angeles, driving, answering Slacks. Although I will say that our producer does expect us to respond to Slacks within 30 to 40 milliseconds. So there are high stakes there.
Well, and I think that's across the board. One of the numbers you didn't point out necessarily from this Travelers Risk Index is that the majority of business managers, 86%, expect employees to respond to work-related communications while outside of the office during work hours. I will say also the news industry probably is not a good indication of what the protocol should be. No,
it's not.
As long as I've been in this business, it's 24 hours on call.
Across industries, though, it has been the case that the work-life balance has definitely blended because people are no longer in the office anymore, right? So these type of digital communications, texts, Slacks, emails, calls are much more prevalent in the current work kind of structure than they were even in 2019. So even though people aren't necessarily expected to be on the clock at like 2 a.m., if it's 5 p.m. and you're just driving to the store to go grab something real quick, that's definitely going to be a situation where you might be in this contingency of people feeling pressure to answer the phone calls. But again, go ahead.
And Brian, this is where technology comes in, right? How many times have I tried to talk into my Apple Watch so that I can dictate what I want to say? I've had fights in the car with a Siri before. So,
Not with me, by the way. Other coworkers.